Hello, hello, folks. Just setting up. We'll see how this works out tonight and who's around. As we're just getting settled in. So tonight we're going to be speaking with the good doctor about pet care questions. We can take those your way. That's going to start around 7 o'clock tonight. I'm just on here for the first half hour, setting things up, killing some time, chatting with folks. We didn't really know the schedule today until around lunchtime. We have more rain tonight, so we're going to be with hypnotherapist Linda Sabo, but that got bumped. Hey, Annalie, how you doing tonight? Hey, Michelle. So it's raining right now, or it's showery. So I'll be with Linda Thursday night. Now, as of now, I don't think we're doing the show with Annette tomorrow night. I think she might be doing her own thing, unless she changes her mind. So you know as much as I do on that front. But Meredith will be with us soon to answer your pet care questions or just stuff in general, I guess. So there is that. So anyway, hey, Patty, how you doing? So depending on Annette's thing, it's a pretty busy week here. We did a live session last night, got some questions from folks, which was great. And then tonight we'll be with Meredith. Tomorrow, maybe Annette. I actually don't think so at this point, but maybe. And Thursday with Linda Sabo. And then actually I got the okay from the Schooner that wants Annette and I to do a show from their deck. And I think that might happen as soon as next week, which is cool too. So I'll keep everyone posted on that. Hey, Jamie, how you doing? Oh, good, Michelle. Well, you'll get a vibe of what Meredith talks about. I think it's kind of the same with a hypnotherapist, even if you're not into that sort of thing or have general questions that may be of some help to you. But it's fun just for the rapport anyway. I hear what you're saying. Hey, Giselle, how you doing tonight? So just so I don't keep everyone waiting, Mary just got home. So she's getting set up now. And then I said a 7 o'clock start. She may be earlier than that. But just in case you're waiting with bated breath. So there is that. I'm trying to think of other news I have so far. Not much has changed. I knew the weather might be an issue today, so Linda and I were kind of keeping an eye on that. And then it started raining about an hour ago, like showery stuff, but wet enough to not risk it. So I'm glad we bumped her to Thursday. I honestly, until like 3 hours ago, I thought I was doing the show with Annette tomorrow night, but I think she might end up doing music on her channel all night and all original stuff. So you don't have to worry about the YouTube police. So I think she plans on doing that 7 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. I wouldn't put it past her to hit me up tomorrow and say, hey, I want to do a show instead or a shorter show. I don't know. So we'll see. Let's see. Yeah, Jamie, we did it. I'm getting some 7 inches of rain. Where? Up in Maine? They got decked with that nor'easter last week. We kind of missed it. Incredibly. So, yeah, we got, I don't know, I think maybe a ½ inch yesterday. Any of it was needed. And it's happening today. And I think just off our coast, just to the southeast, I'm talking like 5 miles, it's pouring out right now, and we're not even getting the fringe of that. But there's a lot of pop-up stuff. It felt like rain all day long. Oh, good, Earth Angel. Yeah, Thursday, it should be a good show. I've been dying to do another show with Linda. So we had a good phone call today. She was super excited, which is cool. And we got a bunch of good questions last night as well. Oh, thanks, Patty. Appreciate it. Yeah, Jamie, it's some places are getting absolutely hammered. And for some reason, we just stick out in that little peninsula north of Boston. And we luck out with the storms, no matter which direction they're coming from. They tend to break up and dodge us just to the north or south. And it's rare when that happens with a nor'easter, but that happened last week. But I think we're a good 10 inches below normal for rain for this time of year. So any bit helps. We've had a bunch of forest fires in the last few weeks. So hopefully the ground got soaked enough to help out there too. A lot of those fires were underground. So anyway, there is that. Annalee's looking forward to the collaboration with Linda. So am I. I really dug the first video we did. I think a lot of you got to see that one, which was great. And then I've been telling folks now since last week that I think we're going to actually, well, I know we're going to convert our basement downstairs into a studio and run shows down there. So I'm looking forward to getting going with that as well. Let's see, Amanda. Jack, as it turns out, has dry eye, is now on tacrolimus. He's only 2.5 years old, Chad. We had experience with this. Let's see. All right, Amanda, copy and paste that because Meredith's still a few minutes away from hopping on to help out. But we plan on taking pretty much all the questions from live chat tonight. So thanks for that. Libra, not a real question, but why is it hard to change the sheets with cats? I waited for the cats to be off the bed, strip the bed, and jump back before I could get the sheets on. That's pretty funny. Well, yes, there's a lot of curious cat behavior questions we get. So, but Mary just got back from work, so she was just changing and getting refreshed before she sits in. So we have plenty of time with folks tonight. Hi, Christy. Hey, Marby. How are you tonight? Good. Oh, I should also show you some things. I can guarantee that Bubba will be joining us. We did get some belated birthday presents from Bubba, including these came in, these top shoes. Let me hold these in front of these things from Warren Green sent these. And Bubba loves them. That's why the bag's empty right now. No, actually, I had to transfer them into a jar because he'll eat the bag. But they're these little chews like this. What are these? Pork and chicken sausage or something. So we're gonna show him eating that. I don't know if you guys got a chance to see my little picture in the community tab today. But Sharon Bottoms from Wisconsin, she sent a big care package and gifts for Bubba, including 2 giant, like almost as big as my head, sweet potatoes, because Bubba loves sweet potatoes. And he absolutely destroyed one of those for lunch today. So I put a picture up there. So there was that. So, but also, I'll wait for Meredith to hop on and I'll show you some of the stuff that Sharon sent as well, which was really nice. But it was cool to do the Bubba show with everybody. So anyway, if you're just tuning in, hi, I'm Corey, and this is going to be another edition of The Good Doctor with Dr. Meredith Lockwood, my significant other, who is a veterinarian and has been forever. And she answers your pet care questions in real time right here. And I think this is the 3rd show we've done together. And it'll be a regular show for folks too, because the response has been awesome. And obviously, Meredith is really thorough with her answers and goes above and beyond. And we can tell the folks appreciate that. So, so we're looking forward to another show tonight. Tomorrow night, I'm supposed to do a show with Annette. I think she said no today to do a music show on her channel, in which case we may be on the schooner next week. I actually got to answer that captain tonight or tomorrow once I hear back from Annette. And then Thursday we'll be with hypnotherapist Linda Sabo, and Linda can touch upon 1,000 different subjects. So I got some questions last night. I forwarded about half a dozen or so to her just so she can get an idea of the kinds of questions people ask, because she hasn't done this before, but I think she's going to be great. So here is that. Hey, Rose, how you doing tonight? Good to see you. Oh, Earth Angel, best med for fleas. My dog is a Chihuahua. You know, I might be able to actually jot some questions down and transfer them over to a doc while we wait for Mare. So let me do that real quickly. I'll get out of this. I'll open this up. Just because I don't want to miss anything going on in the chat. So let me get Amanda your question in. I've got that one. Libra lady, I could maybe throw that her way, see what her response is. I've got that one in. Let's see. Earth Angel, that's a good question about fleas. I've got that one in. And if you're just tuning in, I'm just starting to call this first half hour, this 6:30, almost like the pre-show. This is usually when Annette and I are actually opening up gifts and getting caught up because we don't see each other during the week. And it usually ends up taking a lot of time because we get a lot of stuff. Hey, Laura, how you doing? Oh, geez, Giselle. Let's see. Judy, how are you tonight? Okay, great question, Judy. Let me just jot this down. And the good doctor will be joining us shortly, but I can certainly take questions ahead of time. Hey, Linda, how are you? I have a nice little group so far tonight. Yeah, we're kind of lucky too with Bubba. He doesn't really get a whole lot of bugs on him. We've had some dogs where we had one dog where the ticks absolutely loved her, but she had such a bright coat. You could see them, and those kind of ticks would take days to burrow their way, so it was never a problem. And she would also signal you when she had ticks. She would like wriggle her nose like she was going to sneeze because she hated the feeling, which was crazy. So we always knew when she had a tick on her, which was awesome. That was a lifesaver. And then we had another dog. We had a chocolate lab who the mosquitoes loved him. They would just always stick to his leg. They never bothered him, which was amazing. He would just have dozens and dozens on him. We'd actually take old towels and rags and just wipe his legs down and then clean his legs off after like all the time when he was in the marsh. And then he would never get ticks. So one dog would get the ticks, one dog would get the mosquitoes. But with Bubba, he doesn't get anything. It's crazy because he's out there the most. Oh, cool, Laura. Appreciate it. Hi, Susan. How you doing tonight? Hi, Mary. How are you? Is there an alternative to give my dog Rockwell for skin allergies? She's 100. Okay, good, Mary. Let me get this down. Thank you. Thank you. And we'll get things rolling soon. I told Meredith 7, but I think she made it sound like she was going to hop in before. So there is that. And if you're just hopping in, we were supposed to be with Linda, the hypnotherapist tonight, but it started raining. So we swapped her and Meredith on this week's schedule, just because it's easy for Mary and I to do the show side by side indoors, obviously. And then I thought we are going to be with Annette tomorrow. Now I don't think that's happening as she's still on vacation in Maine and doing her own thing. All right, Scott, I got your question. Thank you. Thank you. And yeah, and then Mary and I should be good for I'd say a good hour and a half tonight. We'll see what kind of questions are out there. So that is that. And if you haven't seen me in the last couple of shows, Annette and I are going to be doing a show from the Schooner Adventure. You can look that up at schooneradventure.org. I'll jot that down for folks. if you want to take a look at that. It's gorgeous. There's a cool history to that boat, and they reached out to us. They heard about the kind of audience we have and the response, and obviously they dig what Annette does. So they asked for us to do a show from the boat. And so that's going to happen. I think it might end up being a morning show that I just record and then play as a premiere later that night and sit in on the live chat. I think that might be easiest because I don't know if we're actually going to be leaving and sailing or staying on deck, because they're going to have tourists popping in and they can just kind of like check out the boat. But we also may be able to field questions from folks in real time too. So that's an option. But we just sort of figured that out today. The captain actually reached out to me over the weekend, and then this afternoon we went back and forth. So we got to button that stuff up, but we got to wait for Ned to get back in town. And then we will be doing a show sooner than later from Hammond Castle, which we've been talking about that forever. And now it looks like that's actually going to happen. So excited about that as well. So that's the latest with the Annette stuff. Linda Sable, she should be side by side with me. I don't know how often she's going to want to do shows. I think often, maybe that's every couple of weeks or something like that. Time will tell. And probably the same with Meredith. It all depends on the desire, I suppose, from folks. So hi, Fine in Phoenix. How you doing? We're just a few minutes. Meredith's going to be joining us shortly. I'm just kind of doing a little bit of a pre-show here to get up and running. If you have questions, I can take them and jot them down, or you can ask them in real time. We'll do both tonight. So there is that. I have this goofy background again. I'll get rid of that once Bubba starts messing around in the room with us. We'll figure that out. Scoozy. And also trying to get the channel back up to snuff after COVID, which I tested positive for 2 weeks ago, right around this time. And started testing negative before last weekend and just getting over things now. If you hear me coughing at all, it's just because the ragweed's bad. Also, I have the air conditioner on, and I hate air conditioning, but it gets hot in this office. And also, and when I eat and drink sometimes, it just aggravates me and I get a little dry cough. So anyway, there is that. But overall, I feel great. I haven't had a fever in a long time, like more than a week. That broke really early on. So, and I haven't been fatigued. So hopefully no long-term effects. So that's good. And thus we're going to start ramping up the schedule once again. So let's see. Hey, Wildflower Wind, how you doing? I'm doing better. Lieber, any funny Bubba stories? Well, he's good for a belly laugh a day. I'm trying to think of what he's done recently. Well, the weird thing is he got weird when I was trying to take pictures of him with the sweet potato today. So I got the camera close to them because I always want to take a slow-mo of him biting into it, but he would just kind of paw it and scrape it with his teeth to get a feel for it. And it was big. It was like this big. It looked like a giant pear. And every time I turned my back, he would start to take a bite. And when I would turn around, he would stop. So they could just kind of like the feeling of it on his teeth. But he didn't want me to look at him while he was eating, which was weird. Normally he doesn't care at all. So, oh, what do you know? Bubba's in too. Let's do this. Yeah. It'll get warmer sooner than later. Here's Meredith, folks. Come in, come in, come in.
And Bubba.
There's Bubs. There's us in that background. I might open the closet just so we don't have to look at that. All right, Bub likes to lay in there every now and then. You can actually see behind us there, that is the cheese head that Sharon Bottom sent us. So there is that. All right, Bubs, what am I doing?
Hi, everybody. Sorry I was late.
And this is Bubs. If you haven't met him before, he's a 155 or 60 pound English Mastiff who just turned 10. And he's a giant meatball, and he knows where there's snacks. And they are near us right now.
He wants them constantly.
Yeah. So there is that. So.
Oh, Bob, why don't you lie down?
Okay, Carrie, let me just get your question down and we can get right to the, how you doing, Mary? You want to say hi to folks?
I'm good. Hi, everybody. Sorry, I got home later than I wanted to, so I had to get some things done first.
All right, we'll
We
get to
got
your
lots of
microphone
questions.
here.
Wow, okay.
You don't have to worry about that. I can read them over here.
Are there treats in the closet?
There's treats everywhere.
Yeah, Bubba's looking.
Do your hellos. Okay, so before we start, I did want to mention the treats for Bob that we had.
That
And
he
he
loves.
already hears his
Oh,
bag
boy.
opening. Here he comes for that. He loves this thing. These are from Warren Green. So Warren, thank you. All
He
right.
loves them.
All right, you meatball.
Bob, relax. He's got something hanging out of his mouth.
What are you eating?
It's like carrot. Did you give him a carrot?
No, sweet potato, maybe from his
Interesting.
bed. All right. So he loves these little things. So we'll get Bub one of those to start the show.
Oh, Bubba. Just
You got to reach you, baby.
take your fingers with it. Oh, he just got the sweet potato on you.
That's fine. You get used to it. Ugh,
He gets bits stuck in his lips, so they fall out later.
that's gross.
Yep.
All right, one more. Over here, Bubs.
Bub. Be nice. He's sitting. Good boy.
All right, there you go. So I did want to show you, Mare, that Sharon Bottoms from Madison, Wisconsin sent Bob a birthday gift with all kinds of stuff, including
Oh, he'll eat these quick. Bacon and cheese. Nice.
and then all kinds of
Wow.
rope toys. Now, Bob actually has a bunch of these. He's not a big toy guy,
He'll play with he'll do tug of war.
but yeah, he will.
He always wins.
Bob, you want any of those now? Or there's
No,
too much
he
food
wants
around.
the treats.
Yeah, he knows where the food is. So anyway, she sent a ton of these, which is awesome.
Wow.
So we'll see what Bub takes too.
Thank you,
Wasn't
Sharon.
that sweet of Sharon?
Yeah.
Very nice. I hope Sharon's around sooner than later so we can thank her again. So that was cool. All right. Let's see if I took Byron Phoenix questions down. I can't remember. No. All right. And we are ready to play Ask the Vet.
Okay.
Man, V. I just want to do this and this and this and this. Okay, cool. So how's everyone doing tonight? We're going to start the show a little early. We know we say 6:30. I do the pre-show, then we get into the real stuff around 7 o'clock, but we're ready to roll.
I thought I was late.
We have a ton of questions here. Are you ready to start, Mar?
Yeah. Are these ones from tonight or are these ones from before?
Both.
Okay.
I just started collecting, okay?
Yep.
All right, so we'll just get to the folks who are in here and have asked questions already.
Okay.
The first one is from Amanda Engels. Remember, she was with us back and forth. So she says, Jack, as it turns out, has dry eye. He is now on
Tacrolimus. 0.02%. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's a solution and genteel eye drops. Only 2.5. That is pretty young. So yeah, we see dry eye quite a bit in dogs, more in dogs than cats. It's a condition where the immune system attacks the glands that make tears, and then they stop producing the amount of tears required to lubricate the eye. So the dogs usually have kind of like a goopy discharge. Sometimes they'll get infections as a result, and they might even get ulcers on the surface of their cornea because of the dryness. And often they're rubbing at their eyes. It happens in people as well. So they'll tell you the same symptoms. Itchy eyes, just kind of a dry feeling, of course. So usually very treatable. The tacrolimus is meant to stimulate the glands to make tears again. That's the hope, is that the glands start making their own tears. It doesn't always work. Sometimes it needs to be combined with other meds. And then the genteel is just a eye drop or a supplement, or saline or that you can put on the eye to help with lubrication as well. So the genteel is not treating the dry eye, but it's helping the eye itself. And then the tacrolimus would be obviously hoping to get the tears being produced again. it doesn't usually resolve. So it's probably something he's going to need those meds for the rest of his life. I think it can happen, but it's pretty rare that it resolves. If it was due to some underlying cause, then maybe that production will come back or stay on its own eventually, but that's pretty rare. So unfortunately, he's a young guy. He'll probably need you to do that for the rest of his life, but it is very treatable in most cases. So I will share our chocolate lab, Jack, who passed a few years ago. We never got him to produce tears again. I tried tacrolimus. I tried cyclosporin, which is the other common medication for this condition, and just never started making tears again. So we relied on supplement drops and then just cleaning his eyes. But he was such a good dog that it never really, bothered him to a great degree, thankfully. But yeah, just more of the goopy, yucky looking eyes.
Yeah.
But he was
Bothered
a happy
us
guy.
more.
Yeah, he was such a happy dog. He would never protest. But yeah, very treatable. So that's the good news.
Good. Cool. Thanks for the question, Amanda. Hopes that helps. You can always try to follow up in here if need be. Mare can see the live chat. So there is that. Earth Angel 81 just asked us a few minutes ago, Mare, the best medication for fleas, and she has a Chihuahua.
Okay. You'll get tons of different opinions. And it depends on where you are and what else we have to prevent as well. So for instance, here, we have a huge tick issue. So I would never recommend something that's just fleas. I'm going to recommend something that is fleas and ticks. And then we do see a smattering of heartworms. So if you're in a heartworm endemic area, then you'll want something for heartworm as well. The product I use right now for Bubba is called Simparica Trio. It does all three of those things. So it's flea, tick, and heartworm prevention in a monthly tablet. If you don't have a ton of heartworm where you are, you can kind of, narrow that down a little bit. Maybe something like Bravecto, which is a tablet. It lasts 3 months. If you don't have a lot of ticks in your area, then you could do something straight for fleas and maybe even just use a topical or something along those lines. I'm a fan of the oral medications. I just feel like less mess on the skin, and they're just so easy to give for most dogs. They can have their own side effects, sometimes upset stomach. In a rare case, there's been small reports of seizures and more severe side effects, but most of the time it's just GI upset. But the orals tend to be very safe. And then which one you choose just depends on what else you're trying to prevent aside from fleas. The orals usually you would have to get from your veterinarian. So as far as like an over-the-counter product, I have to be honest, I don't have a ton of personal experience with those. I'll have clients say, oh, I use Advantix or I use Frontline. And if it's doing a good job for their pet, I don't say they have to change it, but they can be a little bit hit or miss just because they've been around for so many years now that I think there is almost like a resistance developing to a lot of those topical products that are many generations old at this point. You can also use collars. So if you did a collar, that would be flea and tick, not heartworm. So you'd be doing a separate heartworm if you want to still have heartworm prevention on board. So again, lots of options. Talk to your vet about what's in your particular part of the country. And they can, guide you in that regard. And then I see someone, Liz L asked, what do I think of NexGard? I like NexGard too. It does not have the heartworm. So you would have to combine it with something else for heartworm, but that's a monthly flea and tick. The last thing I'll mention, the negative to the orals. So you're not going to kill the fleas or ticks on impact, or, when they jump on the body, you're not going to kill them or repel them. So they are going to jump on and they're going to die before they've gotten into a reproductive cycle or been able to attach to the body in the case of ticks. But that is a little bit of a negative. You might see something that jumps on. It doesn't mean the product's not working. It just means that the flea or tick has been on for such a short period of time that the oral hasn't killed it yet, but it will. That's one negative though. And I feel comfortable with orals in Bubba's case because we don't have a ton of fleas, and ticks haven't been as much of an issue with him as they were with our other dog. So I'm not as worried that he's going to get them and you'll have a lag time before they die. If your dog is really sensitive to flea bites, or, you're in a heavy tick area, then you might want to do a topical in that case, just because of the repellency that some of them have. Or you can combine them. In a dog that's really heavily exposed to fleas and ticks, you can do an oral and a topical at the same time. So long question. I know Liz L, you had commented that the NexGard's pretty expensive. Yeah, the orals, because they are prescription or through your vet, they can get a little costly. Sometimes, online ordering can help with that expense if your vet will authorize the prescription, but they definitely are very effective. And then for collars, I use Seresto collars a lot. We talked about that in the very first show. And I know someone had commented that their dog, or I don't know, it was a dog or a cat, actually passed away after having wearing a Seresto collar. You'll hear cases like this. It's definitely, terrible to hear that type of thing. I mean, yes, all these products can have that degree of really bad side effect. Even an over-the-counter topical that you buy at the store can have, negative side effects. So you just have to try things with caution the first time you use them. But in my hands, these products are all very safe and very effective. It's just, you kind of pick and choose based on where you are and what your animal is exposed to.
Very nice. Okay, thanks for the question. I just noticed that Barbara Bucher just popped into the room. How you doing tonight, Barbara? Her question, Meredith, is I have an 11-year-old Siamese cat who for the past month won't use her litter box. She also has very dry skin. What do you suggest for her problems?
And she actually, she was typing, but it retracted.
I think she said hello.
Oh,
and
okay.
then.
Hi, Barbara. So 11-year-old Siamese, you say won't use her litter box. So I'm assuming both urine and poop. If it's one or the other, feel free to say in the chat, but honestly, the approach really is the same. It's most commonly urine issues where the cat doesn't want to urinate in the box, but I know someone else in the chat had commented that their cat wasn't pooping in the box. So that's a lot less common, but the same type of stuff we'll go through now would apply to that. So it's usually a behavioral issue, but I always recommend, or you have to at least discuss the potential medical reasons for that. So if a cat's urinating outside of the box, do they have a urinary tract infection? Do they have crystals in their bladder that's making it uncomfortable and they're trying to give you a signal or, show you, or they're having a sudden urge to go and they can't make it to the box and they just have to go where they are. So it's always worthwhile to investigate for possible medical causes of that. And that would be through an exam at your vet and then potentially a urinalysis where we analyze the urine sample, or if it's poop, looking at a stool sample to see if maybe there's an intestinal parasite or something else going on. Often those things are normal, in which case we revert or say it's more likely a behavioral issue. And that's where it turns into management. Two things. You want to try to attract them to the litter box, and you want to try to divert them or take their attention off of where they're going outside of the box. So attracting them to the box, you can always just try a brand new box. Sometimes if it's the plastic, the odor can kind of get in there. Even if you're cleaning regularly, just the that odor after years of use can kind of stick around. Of course, cleaning it frequently. So I always try to recommend you scoop at least once or twice a day, scoop the clumps, and then do an entire change on the litter twice a week, at minimum. If you're using a scented litter, go to non-scented or vice versa. Just change the litter itself, the kind of litter as well. So if you use a sandy or a gravel litter, try something a little larger, like a yesterday's news, which is recycled newspaper, a larger pellet litter, or you can try just anything that's different in consistency to what you've currently been using, because sometimes they just don't like the litter and they don't like the box, or they don't like the scent, anything can make them not want to go in there, even if it's sporadic. Like sometimes they do go and then sometimes they don't. It might just be that, okay, I'm going to use it this time, but next time, nope, I'm not going in there. I don't like the smell of that litter. So anyway, try that. If there's one particular spot that they're going to more than others, especially with urine, the odor might be lingering. So I'm a big fan of Nature's Miracle. They have a lot of good products that are odor neutralizers. So you can try something to get rid of the odor wherever they are choosing to go. That's outside of the box, especially if it's carpet. The smell can just sink into the carpet or the padding underneath. So you really have to neutralize it. There's a product called Cat Attract, which they actually do make a litter, but they also do make, I've seen it as like I can't, if it's a spray or a powder that you can put on the litter, just also as a way to try to draw them back to the box. I have no idea what the mechanism behind it is, but I've had clients say that that's worked for them. Sorry, it's always a lot to talk about with this, but a couple more things. If you use a covered litter box, try uncovering it, or again, vice versa on that. Just changing whatever you are doing with the box itself. If it's an older cat, I know most boxes are maybe a few inches on the lip, but sometimes with an older cat, it's actually hard to get over that and jump in. So getting a box with the low lip in front, these are all just basic changes that you can try to make. Someone asked about charcoal litter. Tweet Scotchy, I've never heard of charcoal litter. I'm wondering if it's just more of for the odor. I'm sure it would be fine. I wouldn't want, another animal in the house to eat it. Not that charcoal is harmful, but if you had a dog or something that ate the litter, I would have a little pause with that, just because charcoal can bind things in the GI tract. But otherwise, yeah, I don't think it's an issue as long as the cat shows that they are okay with it. And then another person had mentioned or asked about declawing. So yeah, if they are declawed, is it hard for them to then do the scratching that a cat will do in the litter box? And that's possible too. So in that case, a lighter, fluffier kind of litter might be a little easier for them. So like a pine shavings that you would typically use for, say, like a guinea pig or a hamster or gerbil or pocket pet. You can try that for litter. They're not going to be very absorbent, so that you would have to change pretty frequently. And cats usually do like to bury their business, so they wouldn't be able to bury it quite as well with that kind of litter, but you could try that. So Barbara, we've just been talking about your question.
Yeah, Barbara, we just answered that one before this,
yeah,
but Mary can follow up with you here.
Right. So and then Justin's mom's has a self-cleaning litter box. Yeah, those can work too. Obviously they help with the odors and cleanliness side of things. I will say though, some cats, if they happen to be inside the box when it cleans, I've heard of some cats who then are terrified of it. But I think they do have a mechanism where if a cat's in the box, it won't clean. But yeah, those are great too. So I hope that helps as far as the litter box side of things for the two people that asked. It's not easy. Again, if it is just one particular spot in the house that they're having accidents, you could try to keep them out of that spot. You could also try putting plastic or something in that spot, because cats don't like to urinate onto plastic where it could splash them. But that really only works if it's one particular area or a confined area. So anyway, those are options for you. And then Barbara, as far as the dry skin, yes, salmon oil can be helpful with that. Really any type of fish oil. If there's an underlying cause of the dry skin, gosh, I hope it's not like that there's skin infection or something medical going on to cause it. It's probably worth a evaluation if she hasn't, been in for a checkup recently. But if it's just that the skin's gotten a little bit dry, I know, that can happen sometimes, just weather-wise. When our skin gets dry, their skin can get dry too. then yes, fish oil, which comes in liquid forms that you can put on their food, that can be helpful. Brushing, if she's not grooming herself a lot, sometimes that'll lead to dry skin because the hair follicles and the skin isn't turning over like it should. So brushing, maybe if she lets you, that could help. I wouldn't suggest bathing. That's just not really an option for most cats. But yeah, those are things you could do. And then if it has been a long time since she's had a checkup, I would just have her examined in case there's something that the vet sees with the skin that would be causing the dryness, and maybe they could give you some other options too. There aren't a whole lot of medical issues that in my mind would correlate to dry skin, but it's always worth taking a look. And then if she's overweight and can't groom herself very well, sometimes that can affect the skin too. But you didn't say that in your question. I'm just mentioning those possibilities.
There you go. Hope that was thorough enough.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know I tend to go on. Tell me if it's getting
Then while you're answering 2 or 3 at a
lengthy.
time, which is fine.
And then Justin's mom said she uses pet baking soda on top of the litter crystals. And yeah, that's fine as long as it doesn't, if your cat's cool with it. Every cat's different. Some cats might say, nope, don't like baking soda, hate my litter box now. But hey, if they like it, then yeah, that's a good way to neutralize odor.
Okay, the next question is from Judy Knoll. She's in the chat tonight. Hi, Judy. Should I pursue chemotherapy for my cat Maui? He has large cell lymphoma. He's 16 and also taking medication for high blood pressure and hyperthyroidism.
Wow.
It's a lot.
Yeah, 16. And I'm sorry to hear about that diagnosis, Judy. Lymphoma is a pretty common cancer in cats. Whether or not to pursue chemo, of course, that's kind of a personal decision for your family. But for me, that would depend on a few factors. So where is the lymphoma? And what kind of symptoms is it causing? So if it was just that it was detected on maybe they felt something in the belly, but he's not symptomatic, then, my recommendations would often be adjusted in that case versus, if it's in his intestine and he's actually vomiting and not able to eat or having real symptoms from it. So if you're in the chat, you're welcome to give more information on that. But my personal impression in cats with as far as chemotherapy in cats, they just tend not to do well with it. So by that, I mean, a cat that has cancer but doesn't necessarily have severe symptoms from it, if we do the injectable chemotherapy protocols that are published to treat their cancer, I find that personally it can make them feel really crummy. And I hate that thought of, yes, there's cancer, but they feel okay. And then we actually make them feel sick from what we do. And I'm not saying I don't know what protocol was suggested to you or where the lymphoma is, but that's always my hesitancy with cats, and also the stress of it too. Cats in general don't like to get in the car and go to the vet. So if it's something that they're suggesting doing, say like a weekly injection or something that's frequent trips, that could get a little bit stressful or anxiety inducing for your cat. So lymphoma can often respond to oral medication that you would give at home. Prednisone is a very commonly used steroid that can actually have effects on lymphoma in cats. Good effects, where it can slow it down. Or a product called Leukeran, or chlorambucil is the other name of that. That is a chemotherapy, but it can be given orally. So if your vet suggested prednisone and Leukeran or some type of combination of those two, that's pretty low stress on the cat. And that has fewer risks of side effects. So that I would think about. If I'm making decisions as if I had a cat and was trying to figure out what to do for it, I would certainly consider a prednisone, chlorambucil, or Leukeran protocol if it was appropriate for your cat's lymphoma. There are veterinary oncologists, if people aren't aware. So veterinarians can specialize in particular areas of practice. So oncology, ophthalmology, dermatology, surgery, et cetera. So, your general practitioner might have already said or offered a referral to an oncologist. They would have probably the best, or newest types of protocols that you could do. I'm seeing your follow-up, Judy. So he had a lump on his side that tested positive. Interesting. A lump on his side. So again, I don't want to, it's a decision to make in consultation with your own vet. But I mean, if it's completely asymptomatic, then yeah, that is an odd spot just to have it under the skin. I mean, could it be surgically removed even? So yeah, I certainly, my personal opinion would be not to go for like an aggressive protocol in that case, since it doesn't seem like he's got severe symptoms from it. But potentially Leukeran adding to the prednisolone. Again, I would have to, research if that's even an option for the type of lymphoma that your cat has. I don't know that information off the top of my head, but you could talk to your vet about if there is another oral medication they think he could go on. He's already on a lot, so you're putting extra, into his system, but that it's something that is safe to give with the other meds that he's on. It just would potentially slow it down. But yeah, in that type of case, I certainly couldn't push for, an aggressive injectable protocol. I would maybe suggest that they investigate and see if it's anywhere else, though, like if he's had x-rays or anything to see if by chance it's anywhere else in his body. I would hope not, of course, but that is an odd spot. So.
Are you good from there? Where you want to follow up with?
Are there other
I got plenty of questions, but Giselle just asked, is it true that cats and dogs have a greater chance of cancer if not spayed or neutered early enough?
Giselle, that is true in the case of mammary cancer. So cats and dogs, if they're spayed after they've gone through heat cycles, then they are at a greater risk of cancer in the mammary glands. But the actual opposite has been debated, where are certain cancers more common if they're spayed or neutered too young. So that's not, I can't, there's not enough definitive proof. Bubba's getting another treat.
The goofball.
But mammary cancer would be the one thing that, yes, very much so. Jeez. If they're spayed or neutered, spayed after their first heat cycle, then the risk of mammary cancer is higher. Yes. And then of course, in the case of neutering, testicular cancer, if they're not neutered, it's not common, but you're not going to have testicular cancer in a dog that's been neutered. So that would be a higher risk as well. And you guys, I don't know if the microphone probably doesn't pick it up, but Bubba, when he takes these kind of treats, he loves them so much. He actually makes a vacuuming sound when he grabs them.
Yeah, he sucks them right in.
Yeah, it's funny.
Okay, thanks for the question. The next one comes from Mary, who's in the chat tonight, and she asks, Meredith, is there an alternative to give my dog Apoquel for skin allergies? She's a 100-pound American Bulldog, 5 years old. I bathe her every week and shampoo her. Some shampoos dry her too much.
Okay. 100 pounds. So I can imagine that Apoquel is pretty costly for her size. So as far as allergies in dogs and in cats for that matter, if it's food allergy, then sometimes, of course, we can change the food, and that can help to decrease their allergies because then they're not being exposed to whatever stimulates them. I'm assuming it's environmental, just because that's the more common thing I would use Apoquel for. Environmental allergies are a lot tougher. You can't really avoid the allergens because they're inhaled. Even in a dog that doesn't really go outside much, they're products that or allergens that get into their system through a screened window. So they can do blood tests or skin allergy tests to try to identify what environmental allergens are causing the problem. And if you know that, then sometimes you can try to avoid the most common ones of them. But not always. We'll have dogs, we do that test and they come up allergic to every kind of grass and you can't avoid the grass. But that is an option if you haven't had it done, just to try to see what exactly is stimulating the allergy. And if with that test, the lab can make an immunotherapy that you would give either, depending on the lab, they have oral forms or injectable forms that can desensitize the dogs to what's causing the allergy. That takes a while to work and it doesn't always work. And can be fairly expensive. So a lot of negatives to that, but that could be an option that could lead away from Apoquel if we can desensitize her body to the allergens. Okay, so you did the test. If on the allergy test, it turns up things like there's dust mites that can be in a house. Like there's ways to try to decrease dust mites. Like sometimes there's other things you can do based on that test other than the immunotherapy. But anyway, that's good that you had that test done. So yeah, environmental. Mari said the allergies are environmental. But yeah, as far as alternatives to Apoquel, there's an injection called Cytopoint, which is in a similar category to the Apoquel. It's a immune modulator. Again, it's called Cytopoint. It will probably be even more expensive than the Apoquel, to be honest with you. And in most dogs, it lasts about 4 to 6 weeks, but that could be an alternative. If you wanted to compare the costs and ask your vet if they use that, for an 100-pound dog, it's probably going to be pretty costly. And then the other option would be something called Atopica. That's kind of, I used to use a lot of that, but ever since Apoquel came out, I've kind of shifted to that because it seemed to work better with fewer side effects and less of a lag time. But Atopica is an oral form of cyclosporin, so that is an alternative medication. And then really the, probably least expensive and most commonly used medication for allergies is prednisone. It, opens a can of worms with side effects. I always try to use something other than prednisone when the animal has to take it pretty chronically. But it is more cost effective. It just is not great for the negative effects it can have on the body. So those are your main oral options. Again, the Apoquel, prednisone, or Atopica. Topical therapy with bathing and what you're already doing, that can help as an adjunct or, additional treatment. Most dogs, unless their allergies are pretty mild, bathing's not going to do it on its own, but the bathing is rinsing allergens off the coat, and that can help decrease exposure. So you said that they dry her skin out, so you'd have to use a shampoo that is less likely to dry the coat, something with a conditioning or a hydrating component to it. And then as far as other over-the-counter types of options, fish oil we had talked about earlier for the cat with dry skin, that can sometimes help with skin allergy issues, just hydrating wise, and actually have some anti-inflammatory effects. So as long as there's no negative from your allergy panel to using fish oil, that could be an option too. So yeah, prednisone, definitely double-edged sword. And then Mari said you do rinse. So yep. With shampooing, right, rinsing is very important because if the shampoo is left on the skin or has a residue, that can dry the skin as well. So a little spiel about allergies. It's tough this time of year, is usually the bad time, summer, in the States here as far as dogs with allergies. So yeah, omega-3 liquid, good. So she's already doing that too. Yep. So good luck, Mari. It's not easy. If you haven't talked about immunotherapy options based on that allergy test, that would be something to consider, at least, trying to avoid actual prescription or oral medications. That may be something that helps your body not have as much of a reaction to the allergens.
Okay, thanks for the question, Mary. Hope that helps. Next is from Fine in Phoenix. We have a 15-year-old cat named Julian that has lost weight and acts like he's hungry often. If you could give us a general idea of what health issues he could be experiencing. And she's actually followed up in the live chat again here too.
Okay, I
We
see.
Yeah, we switched to wet
Switched to
food
wet
and he liked it, but he acts like he's hungry a lot. We feed him 3 3-ounce servings. Any ideas?
All right. Bubba wants to join in on this question. He might also want another treat. You've had 3, you're fine. So yeah, the 2 things that come to mind quickest as far as the symptoms you're describing. So teenage cat losing weight, but really hungry. You know, vets will joke amongst themselves. Is it diabetes or is it hyperthyroidism? It's most likely one of those 2 things. So if it's losing weight, but not having a great appetite, then I'd add in kidney issues. But a hungry cat that seems to be eating well, but is losing weight, really easy to see if it's one of those 2 things. A blood sugar would tell you if it's diabetic, you know, blood sugar being high would mean diabetes. Usually with diabetes, they're also pretty ravenously thirsty. So if you're noticing that, but if I was betting, I'd probably, you know, lean towards hyperthyroidism since you're not describing an increased thirst. That's also really easy to test for. It's through a blood test, and sometimes you can feel an enlarged thyroid gland in their neck. So should be treatable in either case. The not so good explanations, of course, something wrong in the GI tract could cause a cat that's eating quite a bit to then not, you know, or lose weight. But again, usually with something in the GI tract, I would suspect that they would not be eating as well. So a good appetite with weight loss, it's hyperthyroid or it's diabetic until proven otherwise. So I would have a checkup soon.
Okay, thanks for the question. Fine. Next one comes from Carrie G, who says, I just started new wet food for my 11-year-old cat. It's a special diet for his kidneys. He won't eat it. Any advice?
Oh gosh. So I mentioned kidneys just a second ago with the last question, but yes, if your cat's been diagnosed with kidney issues, one of the first steps we often take is to change their diet. And the reason for that, the kidney foods can be a little bit lower in protein, or usually are a little bit lower in protein, I should say. And they're also regulated, as in most cases, for their phosphorus levels, because phosphorus is something that can become elevated when the kidneys aren't filtering properly. So the issue we run into with a lot of cats is palatability of some of these diets. So you're not alone, Carrie. It's a common issue where we would love for them to eat this food because it'll help their medical condition, but they don't like the food. So there are multiple manufacturers that make kidney foods. So the brands or the manufacturers that have prescription diets, Hills, which their kidney food is called KD. Royal Canine, theirs is called Renal LP, I believe. I think that's what it was years ago. I don't think it's changed. I don't use that one anymore. But Renal LP, Purina or Purina Veterinary Diet, PVD, they have a kidney food. And then Blue Buffalo has prescription diets. So only saying that to say that if you've tried one of those, ask your vet if they can get some of the others and see if they like those any better. If not, senior diets, so a food that's marketed as a senior cat food, can often have some of the properties of a kidney diet. Probably not, to the same degree, but I'd rather have them eat something and than not eat at all. So a senior diet might be an option too. But I would check with your vet and see if they have any of the other products that you can get a can or two and see if they like something else better. Now there was actually also, someone else had a question about kidneys.
We have a few actually.
Would you want to do it all together?
So we have
Yeah.
we have one here from Dorothy Lynn, who's a longtime follower. Please ask the good doctor what she thinks about giving cats who have kidney disease IV fluids at home.
Yep.
You want to run into that one, or you?
Well, sure. Well, and then Rue right underneath it. Actually, read them together.
Yeah, and then Rue asks, what do you recommend for a 17-year-old cat with kidney disease?
Okay.
She's still eating well, drinking quite a bit, and is still active.
Okay. And that's great, Rue, that she's still, feeling well overall. So, from the number of questions we have from prior and in the chat here, you can tell that kidney issues are fairly common in cats, especially older cats. So one of the more common things we'll see as they get into their mid to late teens. And of course it can happen younger, but most cats that are getting diagnosed with kidney issues, it's chronic, where the kidneys just over time stop filtering as well as they should. There can be medical causes of kidney issues in cats. So just a brief aside that, medications that they take or accidentally eat can sometimes traumatize the kidneys, especially ones in the category of an NSAID or non-steroidal anti-inflammatory. Those have a very narrow safety profile in cats. So, ingestion of something like that could harm the kidneys. Cancer can happen in the kidneys too, fairly uncommon. So I'm only mentioning these things just to say that there are other causes of kidney issues that might have alternative treatments, or if we find a way to address the underlying cause of what's affecting the kidneys, we can sometimes get the kidneys back to a normal function or address the issue directly in that way. But again, most of the time it's a chronic age-related or degenerative change. And in those cases, we're not really looking to or able to reverse the change in the kidneys. It's going to continue, but in general, in a very slowly progressive way. So a lot of cats, we diagnose it just on like screening blood work. They're, no real symptoms were noticed at home. Maybe they were drinking a little more water, larger clumps in the litter box, but overall very happy, still maintaining weight, still acting their usual selves. And then we found out that their kidney levels are slightly high. In early stages like that, often the change is just to change their diet, like we were talking about before, if we can find something they like. We'll check their blood pressure early in those cases too, just because high blood pressure can go hand in hand with kidney issues, and they having high blood pressure can then accelerate the kidney changes. So, God, I hope I said that right. So checking their blood pressure, if their blood pressure is high, we'll get them on something to, help modulate that. If it's normal, no need to address, but just following up and checking it periodically. And then, again, following the blood work and following their symptoms. So if it's progressed to the point where their appetite gets a little low, then sometimes that means that their stomach's feeling a little negative effect of the kidney toxins building up in their system. And that's where the fluids can come in. So the fluids that, I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of the person that asked about the fluids, but I think it was Liz
Dorothy.
or Dorothy. The way fluids can help with kidney issues is they're almost trying to flush the kidneys out. So the kidneys basically aren't, when there's a problem with them, they're not conserving water in the body the way they should. That's kind of a simplified explanation, but what the cat is drinking is kind of going right through them and not, being retained in the body appropriately. So even though they're drinking a lot in most cases, they can actually get pretty dehydrated. So the fluids can serve to help with the dehydration, but they can also kind of flush the kidneys out and get those levels down. So the kidneys are responsible for excreting certain things from the body. And when they're not working the way they should, those levels will build up in their blood. And those toxins are what makes the cat not want to eat well and not feel well. So the fluids are helping in that regard too. It's some cats, it's absolutely non-starter. So, it's a very overwhelming process for a lot of owners too, to think of putting a needle into their cat and the cat having to sit still for a period of time while these fluids are going into the body. But if you have a cat that is tolerates it, and it's something that you feel comfortable with, then yes, by all means, the fluids can be very helpful. And sometimes we start just with once a week. It really depends on the levels and then the symptoms going on as well. In cats that are really starting to accelerate or have a higher and higher level on their creatinine and their BUN, sometimes they go up to once a day even. So yeah, I do find the fluids helpful. I tend not to jump to them in an asymptomatic cat though, where we just found that their levels were a little bit high. That's where we would do the diet and maybe blood pressure meds if they need it, and not jump to the fluids. I kind of like to keep that in my back pocket for when we really need it. And that's when they start to not feel as well from the kidney issues. The other person had asked Rue, sorry, what do you recommend? So actually, it's kind of what we've been going over. So at this point, Rue, a kidney diet would probably be the only thing, since they're otherwise feeling well, and then have their blood pressure checked too. As things get to a more progressed state, if eventually their phosphorus levels are high, then we use medications for that. So the other things that happen down the line are based on symptoms and medication and blood values. So, but cats can live a number of years with kidney issues. So just because your cat has changes in the kidneys doesn't mean that there's an imminent deterioration that's going to happen. You do want to be very careful with anesthesia. So any, anesthesia for a cat with kidney issues would be just absolutely if necessary. And then of course, NSAIDs, there's medications we would absolutely avoid. But yeah, very common and very controllable. We're not going to cure it, but we can try to slow it down, and we can keep your cat feeling as well as possible for as long as possible. I'm sorry, another long one.
There is. All right. Thanks for the questions. We have another one here. It's from, this is Sue Peterson. Is there a cure for parvovirus?
Parvovirus. So parvo is a dog virus, much more common in puppies, or it just usually affects puppies more than adult dogs, because most adult dogs are vaccinated for it. So parvo is part of the series of puppy shots that any shelter is going to give to every single puppy that's there, and every vet should recommend for all puppies. It's a combined vaccine for distemper, parvo. There's other things in it as well, but those are the two more common viruses that can happen in puppies. So if they're gone through their puppyhood and have those vaccines, to me that's the best way to help dogs as far as parvo goes, because by the time they're fully vaccinated, exposure is much less likely to cause disease. And then by the time their immune systems are even just mature, it's much less likely to cause disease as well. So to me, the cure is really good preventive vaccination for your puppy. It still happens, of course. If a puppy has been exposed and gets parvovirus, sometimes it can be fairly mild, just GI symptoms, but these puppies can get so sick, and yes, it can actually kill them. So if we have a puppy that has parvo, test positive for it, and is symptomatic with it, the first thing is always just to, you have to, isolate them from any other dog that's our litter, our puppy that might come around them, because we don't want to spread it. And then usually it's hydration and stopping their vomiting and diarrhea as best we can. It's all supportive care. There's no way to get the virus out of the body. We just have to support them through the symptoms. And that's where IV fluids come in. And then often, anti-diarrhea, anti-vomiting meds, until their body can fight it off on its own, if it can. In the really bad cases, it'll attack their white cells, and they'll get, their white cell counts will plummet. And then they're going to be prone to other secondary infections. And that's when it gets really touch and go for survival. But there are ways to treat. It's more, again, supportive care. But the cure, or the real, the best way to help with that is with proper vaccination. And then that's also why we tell you not to take puppies to like dog parks, or to places where there's going to be a lot of other dogs that you don't know their health status until they're fully vaccinated, just because we don't want them to be exposed to it before they've gotten their shots.
There you have it. Okay, thanks for the question, Sue. Next one's from Gloria B, who's in the chat with us tonight. And Gloria says, my 15-year-old dog Lucy is a short-haired small German Shepherd mix. She's starting to lose hair and tufts when you pet her. What do you think, Doc?
Wow, 15. You go, Lucy. That's great. I guess my one question would be if she's also itchy. If she's really itchy and losing fur, then my gosh, maybe she's got allergies or something that's bothering her skin. But if she's not itchy, and it's just that she's losing hair, it's not that dogs go bald with age. That's, not a thing. But it may just be that her coat isn't quite as thick or healthy as it was when she was younger. So seasonally, dogs will lose fur or lose hair. The shedding typically happens heaviest in spring. So we're not really in the right time frame for that. There could be metabolic reasons for it, specifically like a low thyroid level. If their thyroid gland's not making enough to support their hair follicles, that's one thing that comes to mind. But if it's itchy, then that I definitely would say just have her take her in, have the vet take a look, maybe check a thyroid level. But if she's not itchy and it just seems that she's losing more hair than she used to, still could consider having it checked out and checking the thyroid. But if her skin is otherwise healthy, not red, not showing signs of infection on the surface of the skin, then it might not be too big of a problem. I'm just trying to think of ways to help with it. But yeah, 15. I would have her evaluated just to see if there's options for it, especially if she's itchy, and if there's other symptoms happening too that tell you that she's not feeling great. But I'm not super worried.
There you have it. Hope that helps, Gloria. Thanks for the question. Next, Benjamin Padilla. We haven't seen him in a while in the chat, so welcome back, Benjamin. And he asked, what is the best time to neuter a female kitten?
Female kitten, I would do between, say, 6 and 7 months of age, definitely before the first heat cycle. So cats will, when a cat goes into heat, they'll just kind of continually cycle. It's not like dogs. It's every 6 months roughly. So just do it before the first heat. Again, that tends to be roughly 7 months for a cat. So generally, we'll say 6 months, just because by then we know that they're fully vaccinated. They're of a size that makes anesthesia a little less risky. So 6 months, but I would try to do it before 7 months. And then with female kitten, that would be a spay. As far as neutering a male cat, that same time frame, we usually just say 6 months for a lot of the same reasons. They're fully vaccinated by then. They're big enough to do a little better under anesthesia than a really young kitten would, and they haven't hopefully picked up any bad marking or urine spraying behaviors in a male cat by 6 months. So same for neutering a male.
There you have it. Hope that helps, Benjamin. Thanks for the question. This is from Patty D, who's in the chat tonight. I'm 70 and am a dog person, but watch my son's cat a lot. I would like a fur baby and get a cat because then I don't have to walk it. Is it better to get a kitty or an older cat, male or female, one or two?
All kind of personal preference types of things there, Patty, but I would lean towards getting two. If they're going to be the only animals in your house. You said you're a dog person, but it doesn't sound like you have a dog right now. I would probably, if you have a dog, then I'd say maybe just one at that point because they'd have the dog to play with. But if you don't have any other animals, then I'd say two, just so they have a playmate. Um, and of course, there's the fun aspect of kittens, just watching them play and grow and knowing them from a young age. Um, you know, I think most people would lean towards a kitten, but if you really just want the companionship, then I would suggest getting an adult cat. There, it's harder to find homes for them just because most people do want kittens. So you could do your kind of you know, good deed in some ways in adopting an adult cat that would be a little tougher for a shelter to find a home for. So you don't have a dog right now. I mean, I would think, you know, maybe an adult, but then it's harder to get two.
You want this dog, Patty?
Yeah, right. I guess if you really wanted two, I would maybe in that case lean to kittens just because it'd be easier, you know, for them to bond to each other. Adopting two adult cats at a time can be tough because an adult cat might already have a built-in wanting to be the only cat, or depending on what their lifestyle was before, you would just have to check. I mean, if you have a bonded pair of adults, that's the absolute hardest to find a home for, would be a bonded pair. So if there's a special situation of a bonded pair of adult cats, that could be a nice thing to do. But if it's more, you know, I guess what I'm trying to say is kittens would do better if you wanted to get two. I'm speaking in circles at this point, but yeah. If I wouldn't adopt two adult cats that came from separate homes and expect them to all of a sudden get along and be best friends. Most cats, by the time they are adults, they've figured out whether they like other cats or not and want to live with one. So a bonded pair of adult cats that have lived together before would be a good reason to get two. If you got kittens, I would definitely recommend getting two, or a single adult cat. I think those are all good options for you. And she'd love Bubba. He's on the way to you.
Cool. All right. Hope that helps, Patty. Thanks for the question. Here's one from Elaine S. Curious if I should take my dog to the vet if he is vomiting 2 to 3 times per week. His appetite's okay. Hasn't changed, or she hasn't changed his food at all. Science, diet, kibble, and wet.
Elaine, if you're in the chat, I'm just curious, like how old, and if you say there's no other symptoms, appetite's fine, but you know, a really young dog, I'd probably be less worried. I would maybe try some different foods first, just to see if it's something in the food itself that is maybe upsetting his stomach. But if it's an older dog, you know, there's always the chance of something causing that vomiting. So yeah, age would be an indicator for me to say whether or not to take them in. And if there's any like lethargy or, you know, change in water consumption, anything else going on too. Sometimes even if they've been on the food for a while, their stomach just doesn't tolerate it as much anymore. So you could always try something different. 7-year-old Westie, so middle-aged. You know, Science Diet does have a line called sensitive stomach. So if it's just kind of a not that there's an actual issue in the GI tract, but just that their stomach, they've gotten a little reactive to the food, maybe the sensitive stomach kind would be less likely to stimulate the vomiting. Anytime if you're trying a different food, I always recommend to mix the two flavors together for a period of time rather than just jumping from one flavor to another, just so it doesn't then cause more GI problems. But you could try the sensitive stomach maybe. And then depending on when the vomiting's happening too. So I won't go on too long with this, but the one thing we'll see in dogs is if it's early in the morning and their stomach's empty and what they're vomiting is bile, then that sometimes is almost like a acid reflux type of thing in a person, where the fact of the stomach being empty is what's causing their nausea. And in those dogs, just doing smaller, more frequent meals, including one later into the evening, can be helpful. Kind of jumping to conclusions on that, it might not in any way be appropriate or fit with what is going on with your dog. But early morning or empty stomach vomiting in a dog often is just acid levels are a little bit off, and there's ways to play around with that. So yeah, couple of tips for you. At his age, I don't think you need to rush him in. If you wanted to try some changes first, and then if it doesn't get better, certainly you have him evaluated and bring it up. If he's due for an annual checkup or that soon, you could always bring it up then too. Can we go back up for 1 sec in the chat? So just back up. Patty had said 2 male or female. So in that way, if you are going to get kittens, Patty, sorry, we're going back to the kitten question because I saw one thing come up after I had switched to the next question. So if you're getting kittens, to me, I wouldn't, choose. I think you could do either way. 2 boys, 2 girls, 1 of each. If you get 1 of each, then just make sure that they get spayed and neutered at appropriate times. But if you're adopting kittens, the gender, they'll probably be friends with each other, just because they're growing up together. If you're going to try to bring 2 adult cats in, they definitely, it can be very hard at all to get 2 adult cats to mesh. But personally, I find in those cases that the opposite gender get along better than trying to bring 2 adult female cats from different households together or 2 adult males. That's not 100%, but my impression, usually opposite genders would get along. But again, my recommendation is if you're getting an adult, a bonded pair is one thing. If they've grown up together and they all of a sudden, for whatever reason, need a home together, that's a different, that's usually they're going to do fine. I don't know. It would be really touch and go, I think, to try to bring 2 adult cats from different households into yours together. But if you were going to try that, I would do opposite genders.
Beautiful. Hope that helps. Thanks for the question. Starlight Tarot is in the room with us tonight, and she asks, is it true or not true that when a dog ingests the fleas, it causes worms?
It's true, Starlight. So the specific worm it causes is tapeworm. So yeah, and cats can have that as well. So, and actually they're more common in cats just because cats are self-groomers. So they're more likely to ingest the fleas when they're grooming their coat. So yep, aside from all the other reasons to avoid fleas in your cat and dog, the ability for them to give your cat or dog tapeworm is a huge thing. So very treatable if it happens. Tapeworms are visible as they look like little rice pieces or segments coming out either in the poop or around the anal area. So if you see anything like that, it's gross. They're very treatable, but yes, that can happen.
There you go. Great question. Great answer. This
quick one.
Yeah. Lost the numbers skyrocket. Okay. This is from Inkling 13. Meredith, any tips on how to administer eardrops to a cat that doesn't want anything to do with eardrops? It's just me. She has no extra pair of hands.
Yeah.
So what do you do for Inkling?
That's tough, Inkling. I mean, trying to associate it with something that the cat does like. So if they're a real, focused eater, or when you give canned food, they really, focus on that. Maybe that'll distract them enough that you can put the eardrops in at that time. If that's not the case, then probably the one thing you could try is swaddling them in a towel. Just because then you have control of the limbs inside the towel. And all you're doing is having to get the drops in the ear. I mean, that might just build up more anxiety and animosity, but if they didn't mind being swaddled or wrapped in a towel, that's probably one thing you could try. In cases like that, if we have a dog or a cat that's really not great with getting drops put in at home, not sure if your vet has this option or if it's appropriate in your cat's particular case, but if it's treating an ear infection, we have a long acting, it's almost like a paste that we can put in at the hospital. that it takes 10 days to dissolve in the ear. So we'll do that for really, fractious dogs and cats, or ones that just are not going to let an owner put meds in at home. We'll do that at the hospital and save you the trouble. So you can inquire about that to your vet too.
Good. Hope that helps. Thanks for the question. Next is from Brenda Stevens, who is in the chat tonight. Hi, Brenda. Good to see you again. I've heard about special food to reduce dander in cats. I have allergies, but would love a cat. Is there such a special cat food that cuts the allergens?
Not that I know of, Brenda. People in the chat, if you guys have any opinions or options on that for Brenda. I have seen products that they'll sell at pet stores to give your dog or cat to reduce their dander. I just don't really believe that they work, to be honest. Cats, because they are self-groomers, they'll keep their dander levels lower just for that, because they're cleaning themselves regularly. But they're still going to shed and still going to leave dander around the house. So it's hard. A shorter haired cat would have less dander and less hair, of course, or a hairless cat. People can talk about whether they're cute or not, but no, it's I can't really think of anything that would truly reduce the dander enough. Sorry.
Okay, there is that. All right, next one comes from Marianne Prokopek, who's in the chat with us tonight. How are you, Marianne? Good doctor, are there any advancements in the treatment of sacrocaudal tail pull injury? You have to explain that. It's been at least a year since the injury occurred. This is a cat, by the way.
So that type of injury, usually it's something where the tail got stuck, and then the cat tried to run away, and because the tail was stuck, it ends up kind of separating right at the base where the pelvis ends and the tail begins. So that's a tough injury. And it can cause different problems afterwards. If it's severe, sometimes it can actually affect their urination and defecation if it affects the nerves that go down to the bladder and the rectal area too. If the tail actually was fractured when the pull happened, obviously that usually has to be treated with amputation of the tail. But yeah, it's, as far as treatment options go, I wonder if acupuncture could help with that. It depends on what symptoms the cat is actually having because from the injury, but acupuncture can sometimes be helpful if it's a pain issue. If it's more just that there's nerve problems, then that's going to be a little tougher because there's not really a way to make those nerves function better again, unfortunately. But if it's pain control, then acupuncture or even laser therapy around that area might alleviate some of the discomfort. Marianne, if you're in the chat and want to, relay if there's any specific symptoms that are happening, I can try to be more helpful. But for pain, those are the two things I could think of.
Yeah, I just noticed Dorothy Lynn just popped in the chat. And Dorothy, Meredith did answer your question a little while ago. So it's in here somewhere. Okay. And we're just about 1 hour into the show tonight.
And Dorothy Lynn, we were going to do Thursday, but the weather is not cooperating. So Corey had to bump Tuesday to Thursday and I moved up because.
So there's that.
We're together every night.
Yeah. All right. Next question comes from DZZ, who asks, are there any go-to tips for dealing with a canine picky eater? This dog has been vet checked, by the way.
Can you imagine having a picky eater?
Or do you want to follow up on Marianne first here? We think he was hit by a car. He only pees when he sleeps or grooms. He defecates and litter box 2 to 3 times.
Oh, that's tough. So we'll come back on that DZZ, but Marianne, so he is having the bladder and stool issues. I'm sorry, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. We'd be needing to get those nerves and the muscles that the nerves are innervating functioning better again. And I still think that potentially, acupuncture would be the one thing that may give him some improvement, but that's really hard to get back with that type of injury. So if you have a veterinary acupuncturist in your area, it's worth a consult though.
We have tried.
Oh, Bethanocol and Prazosin. So Bethanocol and Prazosin are two medications that can help. Bethanocol makes the bladder contract, and Prazosin can help with spasming of the urethra.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I did not want to hear that tonight.
It's tough. If those haven't helped, then express. I don't know if you've actually had to express the bladder or do the physical work of pushing on the bladder. That's one thing that your vet can sometimes show you, how to actually put some manual pressure on that bladder to help him go.
Okay, there is that. We just hit 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here, where we are in Cape Ann, Massachusetts. I am Corey from Bridge Cape Ann. She is the good Dr. Lockwood. We live in the same house together. And every now and then, Meredith answers your pet questions live. She is a real live veterinarian. So we have a ton of questions here. We have a good group tonight. Awesome moderators. We want to thank Annalie and Justin's mom as always. They're always here with us.
Dorothy Lynn says this is her favorite show on YouTube.
Really? Well,
That's
look at
very
that.
Nice.
So, all right, we're done with DZZ.
No, I didn't answer that because we skipped back to Marianne. So
let's pick up there. So
yeah.
GZZ had asked, any go-to tips for dealing with a picky canine eater? The dog has been vet checked.
Yeah. I find that more common in like toy breeds or small dogs, that they can be finicky with food. We've never had that issue with any of our dogs. We have to stop them from eating all the time, but it's tough putting different flavorings on the food. Even like a low sodium chicken or beef broth. As long as there's no reason not to do that type of thing. So it's just flavoring the food somehow.
I do this all the time for Bubba.
You do.
I don't have to,
Bubba
but I do.
Need it. Yeah. Bubba's just spoiled. But yeah, just trying different flavorings, or I don't know what you've tried as far as foods go. If they just absolutely refuse kibble, that putting the flavorings on kibble can sometimes draw them to it. But if you haven't tried canned food, I'm not a huge fan of canned food in dogs, but if they won't eat anything else, canned food, or there's actual like I think Natural Balance makes one it looks like a log almost, that you can cut pieces off. So it's not as it's not a canned food that you're opening. It's actual more solid, but still a little more moist. Some dogs like that. So yeah, just have to try different things. Unfortunately, you said they were checked by the vet, so they would have found if there was something in the mouth that was making them not want to eat, I would think. Yeah.
You know what I usually do? I try to find all the condiments that are about to expire. I like broth as go-to as well. It's just cheap and easy. And the dog, Bubba is easy. Like, he is no picky eater, as you all know. But I usually try to, I go through the shelves of the fridge, and it's, this condiment's about to go. I sprinkle that on, or I do whatever, and he loves it. For some reason, it makes a big difference. And he'll eat anything anyway,
That's why
that gets him really amped up.
He won't eat when I feed him because I just put the kibble in the bowl.
Yeah.
Nadia says she uses bacon. So yeah, you just have to be a little careful about anything that's too greasy or fatty. But sure, in small amounts, just to give a little extra flavor, that's fine. Liz L, as far as canned foods go, it's more just because we've always had, I don't have a particular issue with canned food. We just have large and giant breed dogs. So the amount of canned food that we would have to buy and give them, I've just never, done that with our dogs, but that can be perfectly fine. Often small dogs, especially, if they have lost teeth during their lifetime, canned food is perfectly fine. And then Marby Gongora said chicken and rice, great idea. Yeah, cooked hamburger, just something a little bit, flavorful. But again, just nothing too fatty. Anything that's too fatty or greasy, you could cause actual GI issues from that. But sure, anything for flavoring. Definitely not celery, Annalie. Yeah, celery is not going to make a dog want to eat.
Good point, Annalie. This is true. Oh, Liz likes to give sardines. Without salt as a topping. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of appetite is in animals is based on scent. So yeah, anything that's really stinky, scent has a heavy scent to it.
Every
that
pet
can
we've
help.
ever had loves fish skins.
Oh yeah.
And fish, yeah.
Right.
Everyone. So okay, awesome stuff. Thanks for that. Liz L is in the chat, of course. We're chatting back and forth with her. But earlier she asked, why do some dogs notice movements or sounds coming from a screen like a TV,
Yeah.
while others are oblivious like hers?
That's a good question. I know, because yeah, you'll see some dogs who like an animal is on the screen and they will watch it intently, or if they hear the barking on the screen, they'll do the head cock or turn or respond to the barking, and others just completely
Oblivious
yeah.
to it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't, I think in most cases it's not a vision issue. It's not that they're not seeing or hearing it. It's just that it doesn't stimulate them the way it does some dogs. I think it's fun when it does happen.
Yeah, actually, you don't think it's anything optical at all, where some dogs are just seeing something differently than another dog? Because I mean, I just don't know how you ignore, there's a dog barking at you on the screen. It's a big screen, it's right in
Right.
front of you. And I don't see how that doesn't,
Well, it's if they
register.
realize that it's in a screen and not live in front of them.
I
So
guess,
maybe it's a intelligence.
but
thing.
every window is basically dog or cat TV.
Right.
They're looking at, I don't
Yeah.
know, it's
No,
strange.
I don't, in most cases, I don't think it's because they can't see it, because their vision is otherwise, not presented a problem.
Right.
I think it's just, they realize, oh, it's on the screen.
Yeah, I guess it's a fun quirk.
Yeah, yeah.
You're out there watching.
Like how some people can hear your cowbell and others can't.
Very odd. Well, someone told me, gave me advice last night to hold the cowbell way far away from the mic and try
Oh,
it back
interesting.
there. But yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Who knows? Okay, thanks for the question, Liz. Here's one from Joanne Signs. Joanne's always with us. My sister wants to know why her dog licks everything and everybody. Her
Oh,
dog
gosh.
is a licker.
Oh boy. Probably also just a behavioral type of thing. Licking it, a dog that licks themselves a lot, that can be allergies or, have a medical cause. But if they just like to lick other animals or people or objects, it's probably just more behavioral, something they like to do. It's hard to stop that too, other than just redirecting. With any behavioral issue that you want to try to stop in your animal when they're doing it, just, tell them no in a way that they'll understand, and then just redirect their attention to something else, a toy or, something that it's okay for them to chew on. And again, over and over and over, you'll have to do it because they don't understand initially. And sometimes it doesn't stop, even with continual correction. But I think it's more just, they like to lick.
Simple.
Yeah. Yeah. We had one dog when I was growing up who would lick our other dog just constantly.
Really?
Around her neck, around her ears. Oh, I guess I should say that if another pet that they're licking, but it's like focused on their ears, then they might have an ear infection. There might be a reason for it. But in this case, it was just our one dog I think she was showing affection towards the other dog. The other dog was like, what, just leave me alone kind of thing.
Yeah,
but so sometimes it could be a way to show affection, could be a way to show dominance too, if they want to show that they can, lick you and
do what they want with you.
Yeah. Yeah. And no, I wouldn't say that psychological problems, Joanne. It's more just kind of a behavior they like to do, like a person that bites their fingernails. I used to do that, which is why I have yucky nails.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, constantly. So no, I don't think it indicates like a disorder. It's just more a behavioral tick kind of.
Okay, moving on to a next one. So kind of similar. This is from Giselle, who's with us tonight. Hi, Giselle. I had my male cat groom his brother and a female dog groom her sister.
Yeah.
Any particular reason they will do this?
Yeah. Maybe I saw that question. That's why that I sidetracked onto my own dogs doing that. Yeah, if it's, like I said, like around their ears, I have seen dogs and cats do that when the other animal has an infection. So they'll just peek in their ears. If there's an odor or redness or a lot going on at the entry to the ear canal, then, have them checked out. But the one that's getting licked, if it's around their ears. So that's one like medical reason I could think of why dog or cat might groom their housemate. Otherwise, I think it's more just either showing a dominance type of thing, like I'm in charge, I'm gonna do this for you or to you, or it just they think that they're taking care of them.
There you have it.
Yeah.
Hope that helps. Okay, we got this question in from, I think it's, is it Tare or Terry G? Tare, welcome to the show. And she asks, why does my dog howl loudly when an ambulance siren passes by? I call him to comfort him and he whines and settles down. Does the sound hurt their ears?
Right. I think as far as hurt their ears, I don't know if I would say it hurts their ears. It certainly, like, they might be a little sensitive to it, but dogs hear at a different frequency than we do. That's why certain noises that we don't even appreciate, they can hear. So, like a dog whistle, even that really shrill, high pitched, that gets a dog to come back to you, that they just respond to or hear it in a different way than we do. And how, Bella, our yellow lab, could always sense coyotes in the yard before we even knew they were there.
Yeah.
And I think it was some type of noise they were making that she could sense, and she knew, would wake up from a dead sleep, just for whatever reason, when a coyote was in the yard. But yeah, that siren sound would have that quality to it. So they're certainly hearing it in a different way than we are, or than you are, Terry.
Well, it's weird, right? I mean, some dogs can't stand fireworks. Some
Right.
dogs can't stand thunder. Our dog, neither bothers him, but if he hears like a motorcycle rumble in the distance, that kind of bugs him.
Yeah.
It's odd.
Yeah. So I'm sure it's not a pleasant sound to their ears, but I don't think you need to like cover their ears when it's happening or anything like that. It's more just like you already do, just kind of soothing them. And usually it's a pretty short siren. It'll pass pretty quickly. But
Cool.
yeah.
Well, guess what, Meredith?
Are we out of questions?
We're out of questions.
Oh,
So,
I thought there was another one.
well,
Did we
it
do
wasn't really a question, but it's from Libra lady. Hi, not a real question, but why is it hard to change the sheets with cats? I'm waiting for the cats to be off the bed, strip the bed, and they jump back up before I could get the clean sheets on. Did you want to answer that?
It's a cat.
A lot of cat questions
I
tonight.
know. They might feel like they're participating with you, or they might just, want to stop you from doing whatever you're doing. It's like the cat who, all the people working from home now, the cat will just sit right on their keyboard.
Yeah.
They just want to be part of the action.
Yeah, we had our dog Jack, we had a chocolate lab. When I would mow the lawn, he would walk with me side by side, but every now and then he would just stand in front of my path. So he would do a couple other things too, but he would just do that.
Yeah. We
Weird.
want you to throw the ball for him.
Yeah.
So Val, Southwest PA. So I saw the update. So Val in one of our last shows had asked about a cyst on her cat that was having some drainage, if I remember correctly. And she took it in, and what was the update in the last show? That it was a cyst?
You're asking me?
No, it was in the show you did yesterday. I think she gave an update.
Ah, boy.
No, she's probably typing. We'll wait a minute. But yeah, it sounds like it's good news, Val. So cyst would usually be something benign. Of course, the drainage that can happen from them can sometimes be problematic, but even if it drains a little bit, usually they seal back over. So unless it's causing, an issue for your cat, often we can just kind of watch and monitor those. I think you had said, or Val had said that it was the surgery would be maybe $700 or so to remove it. And yeah, they can be surgically removed, but I would tend to reserve that for if it is draining on a regular basis or getting infected or causing pain. So yeah, that was a good update. I was glad to hear that. And then, oh no, it was Amanda. Someone else had updated us, but I think it was Amanda with
Amanda did.
Yeah, with the
Right off the bat.
dry eye. And then Patty D said, do all cats spray? No, Patty. So I had said earlier, what with neutering male cats, trying to do that at a younger age, non-neutered male cats are the ones that tend to spray. And spraying is where spraying would be going on vertical surfaces. So like lifting a leg and spraying urine on a wall or a vertical surface. Not, it can happen in females too, but it's almost always non-neutered males, and it's a scent or a marking thing. So that's where neutering them, before they get into that behavior is important.
Cool. What do you want to do? You want to wrap things up?
Yeah. If there's any other, did we miss any questions in the chat?
I've got all of them.
All right. Well, good.
Awesome. So, hey, thanks for the time, everybody. We really appreciate it. Lots of appreciative comments here in the
Yes.
chat too. Our people really appreciate your
You're
time and
welcome, everybody.
expertise, which is awesome. When do you want to do this again?
We've been doing every like 2-3 weeks.
Yeah,
I
that's
think that seems like a good interval.
Yeah, absolutely. So just so you guys know, I do not think I'm doing a show with Annette tomorrow night. I think Annette wants to do a musical show on her own channel instead. That may change. If you see her on tonight or tomorrow, you can ask her. But as far as I know, we're not doing a show, but we are doing a show Thursday night with Linda Sabo, the hypnotherapist. That'll be at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time, side by side out of the deck here at Bridge headquarters. So that should be a lot of fun. So there is that. And then Meredith and I will figure out a new time and date for the next show. And then we'll see if we have any other announcements to share, such as, hey, construction on our house has started.
I hope.
Yeah. So
That's
there
going
is
to take
that.
a while.
So Bubba's belly is full of
Oh my gosh.
pork and sausage treats right now. So he is resting comfortably. And but we'll keep you posted. Thanks for all the gifts again, Warren Green and Sharon Bottoms.
Yes,
We also have
thank you.
other gifts that I was going to reveal for Annette's show, but I guess that might not be happening until next week, live from the Schooner Adventure. So
But you're doing Schooner next week.
I just went back and forth with the skipper today,
Nice.
and he said, let's do it. Do you want people on deck when this happens, or how do you want to do it? And I got to go over that with Annette.
Nice.
So
I want to be on deck.
do you really?
Yeah.
We'll see.
God.
It sounds like it might be like a Tuesday or Thursday morning show we'd have to record. So we're waiting to see
I can't do Thursday mornings.
on them. Yeah. Neither can I really, but we'll figure it out. So anyway, okay. Thanks for everyone who joined us on the
Thank you,
chat tonight.
everyone.
We really appreciate it. We will see you next time with the good doctor here at Bridge Cape Ann. Adios for now.
Good night.
Bye.